The Shining, 1980. 20 Weird Facts You Didn't Know. It wasn't just a horror film, it was a labyrinth of coded messages, psychological warfare, and visual trickery. In 1980, Stanley Kubrick transformed Stephen King's haunted hotel into something far stranger than a ghost story. Every hallway seemed to shift when you weren't looking. Every line of dialogue carried an echo you couldn't quite explain. Actors were pushed past exhaustion, sets defied architectural logic, and frames hid secrets that have kept conspiracy theorists busy for decades. Some saw confessions about faking the Apollo 11 moon landing. Others found symbols of America's darkest history carved into the carpet and painted on the walls. Whether you believe the theories or not, one thing is certain: The Shining is a riddle that only gets deeper the more you stare. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about The Shining. Fact number 1. The 127 Take Breakdown. Stanley Kubrick was notorious for perfectionism. But with The Shining, he pushed it to a breaking point, literally. For the scene where Wendy swings a baseball bat at Jack, Shelley Duvall performed it not 10, not 50, but 127 times. By the end, her voice was raw, her hands blistered, and her eyes swollen from crying. Kubrick reportedly isolated her from the rest of the cast, withheld encouragement, and even instructed crew members not to sympathize with her. His goal, he claimed, was to capture real fear on camera. Whether that fear was artistic or psychological cruelty is still debated, but the toll was undeniable. Duvall later described the experience as the hardest of her life. The haunting realism of that scene wasn't acting, it was survival. Fact number 2. The impossible architecture. The Overlook Hotel's floor plan is a nightmare in more ways than one. Kubrick designed it to subtly disorient the audience. Doors lead to nowhere. Windows appear in rooms that couldn't possibly have them. Hallways shift lengths and directions between shots. One famous example is Ullman's office. It has a sunlit window, even though its location in the hotel layout makes that impossible. These inconsistencies aren't accidents. Kubrick deliberately broke spatial logic to create subconscious unease. You might not notice it on a first viewing, but your brain does, and that creeping sense of something's off lingers long after the credits roll. Fact number 3. The Apollo 11 confession theory. One of the most persistent conspiracy theories about The Shining claims Kubrick used the film to confess to faking the 1969 moon landing. The evidence? Danny's sweater, a handmade knit depicting Apollo 11's rocket. The infamous Room 237 is said to symbolize the moon's distance from Earth, approximately 237,000 miles. The theory goes further, suggesting the oppressive forces in the hotel represent the U.S. government. Kubrick, famously meticulous, never confirmed any of this, but he also never denied it outright. For believers, the film isn't just about ghosts, it's a cryptic apology beamed through celluloid. For skeptics, it's just another example of fans seeing patterns where none exist. Fact number 4. The real axe murder. When Jack Nicholson smashes through the bathroom door, that door wasn't a flimsy prop. Kubrick initially had a fake one built, but Nicholson, a former volunteer firefighter, tore through it in seconds. The scene was reshot with a solid wooden door to slow him down and make the destruction more believable. It worked almost too well. The footage captures not just the splintering wood, but the raw, frenzied energy in Nicholson's performance. The crew reportedly stood in stunned silence between takes. The sound of real wood shattering under his swings is one of the many reasons the scene still feels unnervingly violent decades later. Fact number 5. Sound design as psychological weapon. In The Shining, silence is rarely silent. Kubrick and sound designer Gordon Stainforth crafted an aural landscape designed to crawl under your skin. The score blends eerie synth drones with fragments of modernist classical music. Subtle, almost imperceptible sounds of faint heartbeat, a low hum seep into scenes where nothing scary is happening. These cues make the viewer's body tense before their brain can explain why. Even the steady rumble of Danny's tricycle wheels changes tone as he moves from carpet to hardwood, a rhythmic shift that builds suspense without a single spoken word. It's less about jump scares and more about making the audience feel like the Overlook itself is alive, breathing just behind your ear. Fact number 6. The ski poster that isn't about skiing. In one fleeting moment, a travel poster for skiing hangs in the background, but some eagle-eyed viewers noticed it looks more like a Native American in a headdress than a skier in motion. This detail ties into a larger theory that The Shining is layered with references to the genocide of Native Americans. The Overlook Hotel is said to be built on native burial grounds, and its decor includes patterns inspired by indigenous art. Whether Kubrick meant it as a social commentary or simply enjoyed embedding ambiguous symbols, the poster stands as one of the many visual whispers that keep conspiracy discussions alive decades later. Fact number 7. Windows to nowhere. Kubrick's deliberate spatial tricks extend to the hotel's architecture in ways that make no rational sense. A prime example. In Ullman's office, a large window shows sunlight streaming in, except the office sits in the middle of the building, surrounded by other rooms. The same impossible window phenomenon occurs elsewhere in the hotel, where exterior views appear in rooms that should be landlocked. These visual impossibilities feed the subconscious feeling that the Overlook is not bound by normal physical laws, as if the building itself shifts reality to trap those inside. Fact number 8. The one-take blood flood. The elevator scene, where an ocean of blood pours into the hallway, is perhaps The Shining's most haunting image. What many don't realize is that it was filmed in a single take, but took a year to prepare. Kubrick wanted the blood to flow at just the right speed and volume, and the special effects team had to rebuild the set multiple times after failed tests. The first time it worked perfectly, Kubrick reportedly said, "Okay, that's it," knowing the image would forever lodge itself in cinema history. There's no CGI, just hundreds of gallons of colored corn syrup and a perfectly timed camera. Fact number 9. Withholding the script. To heighten Wendy's sense of confusion and fear, Kubrick kept Shelley Duvall in the dark about certain plot turns. He didn't share parts of the script with her until right before filming key scenes, ensuring her reactions were raw and unrehearsed. This unpredictability not only added tension between her and Nicholson, but also deepened the sense that Wendy was trapped in an unpredictable nightmare. Critics have debated whether this method crossed ethical lines, but the result was a performance trembling with genuine uncertainty. Fact number 10. Here's Johnny wasn't in the script. Jack Nicholson's most famous line in the film, "Here's Johnny," was entirely improvised. Borrowed from Ed McMahon's introduction of Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, the phrase had no connection to the story, yet became one of horror's most iconic moments. Kubrick almost cut it, worrying international audiences wouldn't understand the reference. In the end, he kept it because the delivery was too chilling to lose. Ironically, in some foreign versions, the line was replaced with local phrases, but none carried the same electric menace as Nicholson's original. Fact number 11. The trailer that told nothing. While most horror trailers cram in jump scares, The Shining's original trailer offered a single, hypnotic image, an elevator door slowly opening as a torrent of blood floods the lobby. No dialogue, no montage of screams, just one surreal, unsettling shot. The text, "A Stanley Kubrick film," fades in over the crimson tide, followed by the title. That was it. The gamble worked. Audiences were intrigued rather than oversaturated. Kubrick understood that the unknown is always scarier than what's shown, and by withholding context, he made sure the image would stick in viewers' minds long before they even entered the theater. Fact number 12. Danny Lloyd didn't know it was horror. Danny Lloyd, the child actor playing Danny Torrance, was shielded from the film's true nature throughout production. Kubrick told him they were making a family drama, and Danny's scenes were carefully staged to hide the film's violence and supernatural elements. Even the famous re-drum moment was shot without Lloyd knowing its meaning. He didn't see the completed film until he was a teenager, and by then, it had already become a cult classic. This protective measure preserved his innocence, but also gave his performance a natural calmness in scenes that, to the audience, are drenched in dread. Fact number 13. All work and no play. For real, the endless pages Jack types, all reading, "all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy," weren't just filler. Kubrick personally supervised the creation of hundreds of sheets, each with unique spacing, typos, and patterns. No photocopies were used. The task was so time-consuming that a dedicated typist spent weeks producing them. For foreign language releases, the phrase was translated into equivalents that fit each culture's idioms, and the pages were retyped accordingly. It's an obsessive detail that few viewers would ever see up close. But it's pure Kubrick. Precision over practicality. Fact number 14. The Playgirl Magazine. In an early scene, Jack is seen reading a copy of Playgirl Magazine in the hotel lobby. At first glance, it's just an odd prop choice until you notice the cover's headline about incest. Whether Kubrick intended it as subtle foreshadowing or a disturbing hint about Jack's backstory is unknown. But the inclusion is deliberate enough to have fueled decades of analysis. It's the kind of small, unsettling detail that viewers catch only on rewatch, and it adds yet another layer to the film's atmosphere of unease. Fact number 15. The bear, or dog suit mystery. Near the film's climax, Wendy glimpses a man in a strange animal costume, part bear, part dog, engaged in an ambiguous act with another man in a tuxedo. The moment lasts mere seconds and is never explained. Stephen King's novel offers some backstory, but Kubrick stripped it away, leaving only the disturbing image. Its abruptness and lack of context make it one of the most haunting visuals in the film. It's a reminder that in The Shining, horror often comes not from what you understand, but from what you can't. Fact number 16. Patterns of a dark history. The hexagonal carpet pattern in the Overlook's corridors has become iconic, but for some theorists, it's more than a striking design choice. They see it as a visual echo of Native American art, deliberately tied to the hotel's backstory of being built on indigenous land. Other decor elements, framed paintings, pottery motifs, reinforce the connection. Whether Kubrick intended it as an indictment of historical atrocities or simply liked the aesthetic remains debated. But in the film's logic, these patterns are another silent reminder that the Overlook's foundations are soaked in more than just snowmelt. Fact number 17. Climate as a weapon. Kubrick manipulated the physical environment of the set to affect performances. In some scenes, he cranked up the heat until the air was heavy and stifling. In others, he kept the soundstage uncomfortably cold. This wasn't for continuity, it was to throw actors off balance. Jack Nicholson thrived under the shifting conditions, but Shelley Duvall's visible exhaustion and discomfort were, at least in part, the result of this tactic. Kubrick understood that physical strain could bleed into a performance, and he wasn't afraid to engineer it. Fact number 18. The shorter European cut. While U.S. audiences saw the full 146-minute version, Kubrick trimmed about 25 minutes for the European release. The cuts removed some character backstory and slower scenes, making the film more ambiguous. Kubrick, known for re-editing even after release, claimed the leaner version was purer. Fans still debate which cut is superior, but the edits show his willingness to sacrifice clarity for pace and mystery. Fact number 19. The 1921 photograph. The final shot reveals a black and white photo from the Overlook's the 4th of July ball, 1921, with Jack's face smiling among the guests. It's a perfect closing riddle. Has Jack been reincarnated, absorbed into the hotel, or was he always there? The image is authentic vintage, with Nicholson's face seamlessly composited onto another man's body. Kubrick offered no explanation, leaving the audience to wrestle with the implications long after the lights come up. Fact viti. Kubrick's silence. Over decades of interviews, Kubrick dodged direct questions about The Shining's meaning. He refused to confirm theories, dismissed some interpretations, and left others hanging with cryptic comments. This deliberate ambiguity has kept the film alive in cultural conversation for over 40 years. By never solving the puzzle, Kubrick ensured the Overlook Hotel remains open, at least in our collective imagination. 1198, vượt qua 1.000 ký tự.